Sea spray leapt across the sacred rock. A bronze trident split the ground. Then a green branch answered the storm. One city stood between two immortal tempers. This was the contest that named Athens. Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategy, came for a city. Poseidon, lord of the sea and earthquakes, came to claim it. Their gifts would decide who ruled its heart. But the losing god would not forgive easily. The stone still remembered what happened there. By the end, you'll understand why this legend outlived empires. First, we need to see Athens before the marble glory. Long before the Parthenon, Attica was a hard land of dust, bright sea, thin soil, and people who survived by judgment. Above them rose the Acropolis, the high city, while older tales remembered the place as Acte, then Cecropia. Cecrops, the first king, was a half-serpent culture bringer who taught marriage, burial, and ordered worship to early people. That made him the right witness when two Olympians arrived demanding the same city and the same devotion. Athena was Zeus's armored daughter, goddess of wisdom, strategy, craft, and disciplined courage that thinks before it strikes. Poseidon was Zeus's brother, master of sea and earthquake, carrying the beauty, violence, and pride of storms. Where Athena moved like a plan, Poseidon arrived like weather, and that contrast defines the whole legend. Because the battle for Athens was never only about power, but about which kind of power deserves a city. Some stories say Zeus ordered a contest to stop a divine feud, while others keep Cecrops as judge. The heart of the myth stays the same. Each god offers a gift, and the better gift wins. That sounds simple, but the choice is about to become far more dangerous than it first appears. Poseidon moved first, striding onto the Acropolis and driving his trident deep into the living rock. The stone split, and from it burst a spring, dark and sudden, as if the sea had climbed the hill. Many tellings say the water was salty and useless to drink, glorious to witness but harsh to depend on. Other ancient versions say his gift was a horse, fierce and noble, a creature of speed, rank, and war. Both versions fit Poseidon because his gifts promise force, motion, conquest, and the thrill of command. For a coastal people, that offer was seductive: trade, power, prestige, ships, hooves, and horizons opening wide. Standing beside that miracle, Poseidon's claim must have looked magnificent, maybe even impossible for anyone to beat. But this is where the legend turns, because splendor and usefulness do not always serve the same future. Then Athena stepped forward quietly, without thunder, without spectacle, and without any need to prove her strength loudly. She knelt, touched the ground, and from the earth rose an olive tree, silver green beneath the Attic sun. It offered wood for tools, fruit for food, and oil for lamps, healing, ritual, and trade. More than that, it offered patience, continuity, and prosperity that could survive poor seasons and reward steady hands. In one living tree, Athena gave the city a civilization instead of a moment of awe. Cecrops looked from the sea-born wonder to the earth-born one and saw what was really being judged. Poseidon offered reach, danger, glory, and the thrilling uncertainty of raw power unleashed across land and sea. Athena offered skill, stability, work, memory, and the slow wealth built by intelligent human hands. So Cecrops gave the verdict to Athena, and the city took her name, becoming Athens under her protection. Athenopolis, Athena as guardian of the city, became the divine image of ordered human life defended by wisdom. If the story ended there, it would feel neat, but Greek myth rarely leaves wounded power in silence. Poseidon heard the verdict, and his anger rose like black water under a storm-heavy sky. Some sources say he flooded the Thriasian plain, while others say he cursed the land with salt or drought. The details shift, but the meaning does not. Even defeated, Poseidon remained far too powerful to ignore. That is why Athens never treated the contest as a childish tale of one winner and one forgotten loser. On the Acropolis, people pointed to trident marks in the rock and remembered Poseidon beside Athena's victory. They also cherished Athena's olive tree, believed to descend from the first miraculous gift planted on that hill. Later, the Erechetheion preserved both presences, honoring Athena and Poseidon within one strange, beautiful, sacred space. It also linked the contest to Erechtheus, an ancient king whose legend fused with older earthborn traditions. Greek myths were not only told, they were anchored to places you could climb, touch, and stand inside. A tree, a shrine, a scar in stone, and suddenly the story was no longer distant. The scene was later carved on the west pediment of the Parthenon, fixing the rivalry in marble memory. And here the legend becomes even larger, because Athens grew into exactly the kind of city the myth foretold. It became famous for thought, law, drama, strategy, debate, and the crafts that turn intelligence into civilization. That did not mean Athenians rejected the sea. They built ships, trusted harbors, and shaped history across the Aegean. But the myth insists sea power alone could never define the city's soul or justify its greatness. Ships might protect Athens, yet wisdom had to guide the hands that launched them and the laws that used them. The olive tree became more than a symbol, because olive oil entered nearly every rhythm of daily Athenian life. It lit lamps, flavored meals, served ritual, anointed athletes, and traveled outward as one of the city's great goods. That is how a mythic gift becomes believable. It steps from legend into the pantry, workshop, temple, and marketplace. Poseidon never disappears, though, and the story is stronger because Athens never pretended he had vanished. He remains in harbor winds, in breaking waves below Cape Sunion, and in tremors under human confidence. The Athenians understood something mature here. Wisdom does not erase danger. It learns how to live beside it. A city survives by knowing which power should rule its heart and which power must still be respected. That brings us back to Cecrops choosing a future before anyone could prove which gift would truly endure. From our side of history, Athena feels obvious, yet a horse charges tomorrow and a spring dazzles today. An olive tree asks for seasons, labor, patience, and faith in returns that cannot be grasped immediately. That patience is the quiet heroism hidden inside the myth, and perhaps its most enduring truth. Civilization is built by people who recognize lasting value before it arrives dressed as spectacle. No wonder later Athenians loved this story, because it told them their greatness began with judgment, not luck. Yet the myth refuses easy flattery, because Poseidon's anger hangs over it like weather on the horizon. Every power that forgets humility eventually meets the sea again, and not always on terms it chooses. So the contest becomes a warning as much as a boast, which is exactly why it still feels alive. By the classical age, the myth had become civic identity, woven into temples, festivals, and the city's self-image. During the Panacea, Athenians honored Athena with processions and paploi, sacred robes woven for her image. A polis, a Greek city-state, was more than walls and markets. It was a shared political life. Athena fits that idea perfectly, embodying organized human excellence sustained by thought, skill, and disciplined courage. Poseidon embodies the untamed world outside that order, magnificent and necessary, yet always capable of striking back. Put them together and you get Athens itself, brilliant and exposed, strategic and vulnerable, lifted by ideas yet ringed by risk. That is why the battle for Athens still feels modern, because every society faces versions of the same choice. We still choose between spectacle and substance, speed and patience, domination and stewardship. Then live inside the result. Listen closely, and the myth is not asking which god looks stronger on the hill. It is asking what kind of gift truly makes a city great and worth passing forward. The answer was never just an olive tree, but foresight, restraint, and the labor of making harsh ground livable. That is Athena's real victory, while Poseidon's lasting role is to remind that triumph without memory becomes arrogance. The sea did not win Athens, but it still framed the city's fate, commerce, danger, and horizon. So the legend ends in balance, with Athena receiving the name while Poseidon keeps the warning. That balance is why the story survived when kingdoms fell, temples burned, and languages shifted around the Mediterranean. It speaks to something permanent. The strongest city is not the loudest, but the one that knows what endures. If this legend pulled you onto the Acropolis tonight, there are many more fireside myths waiting beyond it. There are heroes who outsailed storms, queens who challenged fate, and monsters born from humanity's oldest fears. So if you love these legends, stay close because the next story may begin with a whisper or a wave. It might open on a locked door, a cursed voyage, or a God-making one promise too many. Until then, remember the olive tree on the rock and the sea striking back below it. And remember that Athens chose the gift that could teach a city how to last.